Lovely evening, despite the black clouds you can see in the background there, here in sunny Cornwall. So I thought I'd do an outside introduction tonight. Not a lot to tell you. Well, yes, there is quite a bit to tell you. I did the blog the other day, which was all a bit too serious in a way. So I thought it's time to get back on the tractors, and not going to be a long one, but just show you some of the things I've been doing. It's not as much as I'd like to have done, but can't have everything, can you? So I'll just give you a very quick tour of ones that I've got recently and updated, and see from there. So see you in a minute. Now, I was offered this tractor. I didn't want it. Like a lot of tractors, I don't want it. But it looked tempting, so I went to have a look at it. And when I got there to look at it, it was already hanging off a telehandler, so it looked like I was going to buy it. It's, as you can see, it's quite tidy, but don't be fooled by appearances, because there's nothing under that bonnet at the moment. But the good news is, it's all back here, and everything's been done. It's got all the pistons, it's got all the bits and pieces to put that tractor back to rights. And unfortunately, the chap that was doing it passed away in the midst of it, and the man that owned it hadn't got a lot of heart to finish it, I guess. So he offered it to a friend of mine, and a friend of mine offered it to me, and I went and bought it direct off the person that was selling it. It's got an interesting bit of history to it, because it came from Spry's in Launceston. It went onto the same farm from new, and apart from going to Canada for 20 years, it's been on the same place. The chap that owned it, I'm not quite sure of the story. I will find out the better story, but he emigrated to Canada for 20 years, took this tractor with him, supposedly on the Queen Elizabeth. And when he decided to come home 20 years later, he came back on the Queen Elizabeth again, and the tractor came with him. And then it's been stood in a barn on a mill, I think, and it's just, because it was running the same pace all the time, it glazed itself up and just, well, gutless. But hopefully it's going to be good when it's finished. Those back tyres are the originals, came on it when it was new. So I'm not even going to suggest that I'm going to put this back together. I'm going to give it to, I think, probably Tom Harrington. Will put this together for me when he's cleared his workshop out. So it's it can go there. Definitely not going to paint it. I'm going to see what this will come out like. I think that's too original to touch. So, but no, I've always had a fond spot for the Dexter, lovely little tractors to drive. Although I have to admit, the 35 is probably the better tractor, but did I really say that? Anyway, I like the blue ones. So I've got two others. I've got two Super Dexters. One's got the headlights and the grille, and the other one's got the Super Dexter front on it. So this will join that collection. That's a few standard Fordson bits. If anyone wants some standard Fordson bits, I've got a few spares. Right, on to the next one. Now, the Dexter, it's an interesting tractor really, because not only what I just told you just now, I actually bought two tractors in that deal, and the other one is a Fordson Major, because I haven't got enough. But it's unusual in that it's very original. I think it's had new footplates put on it, but apart from that, it's pretty well as it should be. The unusual thing about it is it hasn't got a power takeoff, it hasn't got hydraulics. And when I was offered it, I thought, well, that's easy. I've got spare ones of that kicking around. I can soon do that. But really, truly, I don't need one with hydraulics or a power takeoff. I've got plenty of them. So I'm going to leave it like it, because there can't be many that came out like that. It's a bit later than you'd think. You expect a very early one, but this is about, I think it's about 1954. And it was bought by the same farmer that had the Dexter. And the story was that he had a E27N and a standard Fordson, and they were his main tractors. And then he traded the standard Fordson in for the Major. Of course, standard Fordson hadn't got hydraulics, hadn't got a pair of takeoffs, so why would he need them on the new one? That would probably have cost him another 60 or 70 pounds. So he didn't want to waste money like that. So he bought the Major like that. And then a few years later, probably 3 or 4 years later, the E27N was coming to the end of its days, you know, its useful life. Now I'm guessing that got a pulley on it, and he used to grind his corn up with it, and probably the standard Fordson had. But anyway, he bought the Dexter, and the Dexter had a pulley on it. So, and it's the Dexter's live drive, and you know, it would have been a real state-of-the-art machine for him then. So the Major was still probably used on a mill, and when I eventually get it back, I'll show you it. The only real fault with it is it stood in a barn, and they got a peacock, and the peacock roosted on a beam in the barn, and it shit all over the bonnet, and it's pitted the bonnet. It's not rusted right through by any means, but you're not going to rub that out with a bit of wire wool, and it's I don't want to fill it because that will spoil it. Don't want to leave it as it is because that will spoil it. So I'm not sure what to do. I'll decide when I get back anyway, but that's it. So it's 2 tractors, both bought from Spry's at Launceston, and you know, be quite a unique thing really. Hopefully I'll be able to write something for Tractor Magazine on that, and they'll print it. I haven't done anything for ages because I haven't been very inspired, but I think I could get inspired with that one. Anyway, let's see what else I've got. All right, we've got Timmy's standard Fordson out the other day. It hadn't been started for at least 18 months, and put a bit of petrol in, swung the engine about 3 times, and away it went, and it drove it to where it is there now. Mike Sterling's having this one, and he's going to join his fleet. Mike's now got a Major, 4000, and a standard Fordson, so he's coming on. We've converted him to a Ford man at last. So there we are. She's on her travels, still in the same valley that it came from. It was up the road from here about 2 miles, and then it's come to here. It's been here for 4 or 5 years, more than that probably, and now it's going down the valley to Mike's at Cluvian, so not travelled far from home. Well, there you go. Dear old Timmy's standard is going on a long journey down the road. I'll still be able to see it from here just about, but I'm going to put the standard Fordson that I've inherited from him, the newer one with the narrow mudguards, that'll go where this one was stood. So I'll have 2 standard Fordsons in that shed, and they can keep each other company and tell a few tales. Anyway, so that's the standard Fordson shed will still be the standard Fordson shed. Still got 2 more to put somewhere, but anyway. This one's a Massey 65. I bought it off my brother. It's one you've seen before. I showed it in his collection of tractors. He's decided to have a clear out, and because he was clearing out, I quite fancied this, and I said, well, if you really don't want it, I'd like to buy it. So we did a deal. Bit complicated the deal was, but I didn't actually part with any money, but I did part with the tractor. But there she is. The front, I've got the front. I took the front off because there was a few dents, and I'm in the midst of straightening it out. So I'll come back to that when we've sorted it out. Yeah, but the steering box had gone on it. Didn't steer at all well, but we've had that apart. Put a couple of bearings in it, and it's quite good now. A little bit rusty inside, so it's a little bit rumbly, but it steers. It goes in the direction you point it to. It's not the easiest thing to get at. You'd think it might be, but definitely a little trial. David Brown steering wheel fits a Massey. The steering wheel on it wasn't very good, but that one is a cast off from a 990, I think, and fits on perfectly. So it's all good, really. This tyre's not so good. It's, as you can see, you wouldn't want to go very far with it. But the other one is fine. And luckily, I found one to put on it. This has come courtesy of Mike Sterling. He's, well, his dad's had a new set put on his Ford 3000, They're oversized and they fit a Massey 65. So, and I think that one actually will match this one better. So, nice tractor. That's going to be good when it's finished. I'll show you the 995. I'm working on this one at the moment. It's, as you can see, I got the bonnet off my brother. The bonnet that I had on it was really quite rotten. It looked all right, but where all the struts inside reached over, it rotted out under the badges and it was going to need a lot of welding up. Anyway, he got this one. The only thing missing is the chin piece, but the chin on the bonnet that I've taken off is good, and I've got that separated, so I'll put that on. The tractor itself is very good. It's the one that I got the rumbling and gears in the front, which I sorted out. But it's, although it's very good, it has got a problem in that, I don't know if you can see it, perhaps it's the other side, but it's got a crack in the block. Not easy to see, but it doesn't leak, it's perfect. But if anybody was looking around it, they would say, you know, there's a cracked block and it would knock the price down. So I've got another block and I'm going to put that in it, and I might show you that in a minute. It's a little bit green, the bonnet, but I'll clean up. That bonnet is very good. I've got everything for it. I've got all the grills, and I haven't got lights. I've taken the lights off actually, and they will go on this 65 because they were the wrong type of David Brown. They were red ones. They'll fit this. So yeah, nice tractor. It's the only tractor I've ever had, I think, where the brake lights work, which is quite unique. It's unique to have any lights at all, really. But anyway, good tractor. That'll be out and about soon. The 1200. Don't know if I've shown you this one. I brought that back, well, probably 2 years ago now. Good tractor. It had all the glass in the windows until I drove home with it. And the windscreen blew out, fell across the steering wheel, it didn't break. Anyway, I put it in a safe place when I got back. And in the wind, it fell over and shattered. But I've got another one to put in it now, so that will go in. Not sure about the roof, that's a bit homemade. It's not bad, it's dry, so it'll probably stop there for a bit, but we'll see, probably improve on that. Other than that, it's a good tractor. The front was smashed in on it, dented badly, but there, under the battery charger, I've got it back into shape. I need to finish it off really, but that's a directly job. Anyway, that's what's been going up in this shed. Yeah, the 665, that's a great tractor. That's the first actual real Massey Ferguson I've ever owned. It's not a tractor I've loved. It was always a rival to a Super Major to me. You still, to me, sit too low between the mudguards, but there's no doubt about it, it was a good tractor. And, you know, I don't care. It's I'm not going to have a competition now. When it used to be, back in the day, that was the big tractor, and the Super Major was a big tractor, and of course, Ford and Ferguson rivalry. And, you know, that was always the thing, especially in our village, because we got a farmer who got a 65, and there was ones who got majors. We were still stuck with the E27Ns and a Field Marshal, but mostly Fordsons, apart from this Ferguson and a Nuffield. Next door neighbour had a Nuffield. But anyway, time moves on, you know, they're all here somewhere, or not the same tractors, but they're all here somewhere. The 65, I find, is a bit more horsepower than a Super Major. It's not 65 horsepower, as some think. It's about, I think it's 57, and a Major was 54, but, or, you know, the last ones. And the early ones were in the 40s, so it was a fair bet it was going to win. That 65 is a Mark II version as well, so it's got diff lock, and it's a better tractor, I guess. So yeah, there's that. David Brown's, I've sort of touched on those up in the shed. I'll now show you where the bits I'm going to sort everything out with. So we'll have a look in this other shed. I think the last tractor blog I did, I talked about David Brown's I've got problems with. And this is one of them. It's my 990. Nice original tractor, but a friend of mine borrowed it for a road run and probably ran the big ends on it and buggered the crank up. And it was one of these things that the tractor itself is so good and original. I wanted to keep it original, but I didn't really want to buy another crank, which I would have to have done. And I've asked on various sites, and I finally got to the bottom of it, and a 996 crank will fit it, but you have to change the 996 conrods over onto the 990. So I'm not too worried about what's inside the engine, but the engine itself, I wanted to keep this natural appearance. It's all good, although it's a bit brown rusty. There's no rust in it, so it's quite important that I keep it looking the same. Anyway, you know, these grand plans. I've got a 996 here for spares, but it had been stood there for spares for a long time, probably 5 years. And when you get to it, you find that the engine's filled with water and it's not as good as you thought. But anyway, we got it in, I suppose it's 4 or 5 weeks ago now, and got rid of it. Got a safety cab on it, but a quiet safety cab, and it was horrible. It was rusted right out. So we got rid of that. That was the biggest problem. Stripped it right down to a bare chassis, and then last week I ripped it apart even more, and I got the engine out, split the back axle off it, and I've now got to the stage. There's the engine. I've got the crank out. The crank is all good. There's still white metal on all the shells, so I'll put new shells in, but that's all good. The block itself is very good. There's no wear showing on the top of the liners, but I'm having one hell of a job with one of the pistons, which where is it? The little devil. I can't shift that one at the moment. He's stuck big time, but there's nothing that a mighty sledge won't sort out. But I need somebody else with me when I'm doing it, so that I hit it in the right place. But I've got the other pistons out. Pistons are good, conrods are good, and tomorrow I'll hopefully get that engine out and get it ready to swap some bits over. If I could only get the conrod off that, I could continue, but I've got to get that out whatever happens. That block is good. That block will go into the tractor I showed you up in the other shed. It wants, I don't know if I'll have it rebored, but I'll certainly do a bit of glaze busting on it and clean it. And then that block will be changed for the one that's up there. That'll turn that into a good tractor. And then I've got a 996 with a loader on, which you haven't seen, which I bought several years ago. I fitted it, I was conned really, when it came here the big ends had gone on it, and it was seriously gone. But I got a 1212, which I was breaking, and I put the 1212 engine in it, which made it a really good tractor, but it jumped out of gear, and I'm not sure what the gearbox problems are, but there is a good gearbox in this one, so I'm going to change the gearbox around. The other one wants stripping because the brakes need doing anyway, so that's another project that will get done eventually. Don't know how long I'm going to live, but I might get through it all. So I'll get 3 tractors out of one really with that 99. Well, the 996 I've broken up, then we'll put a 996, a 995 and a 990 right. It cost me about 400 quid I think when I bought it, and it's been a useful source of spares, so it's good. I'm glad I've done it. This is the 65 bits that I showed you. The original front, these grills, they don't look too bad until you try to straighten them. What some bastards. But anyway, I've found another pair, second-hand ones, which I can't see from here and there. But anyway, I've got a decent pair. They're not new, but they're a lot better than those, a lot straighter. And that will allow me to straighten everything else. This is the cheek for the bottom. That's the front. I've got that pretty good now. I've got the chrome badge on the front that fits in this hole, or around that hole. That had gone, and there's a grill behind it. So I bought a new one. And I tried to fit it. It's nowhere near the shape. And I think what they've done is they've taken one that's been hammered in the front and they've taken that as the pattern for it. Anyway, it won't fit. It's actually broken. I tried to push it into place and it just snapped in my hand. So that'll be going back. It's, you know, if you accept these things, they don't know they're wrong, do they? So I'll send it back and say, look, these aren't right. You can see when you realise what you're looking at, you can see that it's been hit in the front. That piece of what was probably chrome on the other one has bent, and of course this is like a casting. That won't stick any shifting at all. So I'm a bit disappointed in that. It cost me 18 quid, I think, but hopefully I'll get money back on that. So there we go. That's nothing else to show you there. I've got a new seat there for my mower, which is out here. As you can see, that mower pinches your ass big time and it collects water like you wouldn't believe. So that's another mission, change that. A bit more comfort, I need the comfort. So yeah, that's the only John Deere I've got. It's good, isn't it? Right, I think that's all I can tell you out here now. So yeah, that's the workshop. I've actually got my hands dirty the last couple of weeks and done something, but that's the first time for ages. I've had various, not major problems, but stuff that's kept me away from spanners and oil and stuff like that. It's to do with hand rash. Bloody horrible things there, and damn painful when it cracks open. So I've had to be a bit careful, but I wouldn't say I haven't beaten it, but I'm on top of it at the moment, so time to get back in the diesel. Not much else I can tell you, really. I'm going to keep this one fairly short. Hopefully I'll do you a bit more often. It seems I've been following different ones on YouTube. That's one of the things only things on a square screen that's worth watching, actually, YouTube, because you can pick what you want to watch. And a lot of these blogs are, 10, 15 minutes long, and when they get to 35 minutes long, I do enjoy them, but they take a bit of watching because people have got other things to do. So I'll keep them a bit shorter. Everybody says press the subscribe and like, so press the subscribe and like buttons, and they're here on this screen somewhere. So if you press that, I need the following. I'm trying to get this YouTube following up, so all you'll see on Facebook is a link for this one, and we'll see where we go. It can't be as bad as some of them on there, but there will be some that are a lot better. I've been watching Clarkson's Farm. I don't know if you've been watching that. It's quite interesting because I've always been a Clarkson fan, although he's full of shit a lot of the times, but his heart's in it. But the interesting thing for me on that is that my wife's father owned that farm, and so Gerald, the security man and stone waller, we know him, and we've sort of got the inside information on what's going on. And if you can remember back to my county blog, I showed a picture of the county that I used when I first came to this farm. That was Gerald's tractor. So we've still got it. And when I spoke to Gerald after we'd seen the series, we rang him up and had a chat, and I said I wanted him to sign it, but I was able to tell him that I knew where that tractor is. So because he's not really got any link to it, because he's had Ford tractors ever since, and it's just a distant memory for him. But I think it's quite funny. Claim to fame, isn't it? And I can tell you, Gerald doesn't talk a bit like he talks on that, or he does. He sounds like it, but they've mucked about with it to make it funny, and with his permission, and it does make it funny. But he's quite intelligible what he says to you, and we're still Gerald, All right. Okay, that's all for now. See you soon. Cheers. Come on in. Good boy.